Hey plant fam! Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Jacqueline. This is part of my jungle, and if you're not new here, thank you for coming back. I really appreciate you. So, today I have a fun video for you. I am going to be talking about 6 things that your plants hate. So I actually got this video idea from another channel. He is called Sheffield Made Plants. I don't know if you guys follow him. He comes up on my homepage, and I was looking into some stuff, didn't really know what to film, and I came across this video and I was like, all right, let me see if I agree with these 6 things that your plants hate, apparently. So basically, I'm just going to be going through and telling you these 6 things and whether or not I agree with them. So obviously go and check out his channel if you haven't, if you want to see the original videos. They're definitely more like just straightforward and informative if that's what you're into, but we're a little bit more chill and laid back around here. So you know, whatever you're into. Depends on my mood. Sometimes I want to feel like I'm just hanging out with somebody, and other times I just want you to get to the point and tell me the information. Anyway, the first thing on the list that apparently your plants hate is inconsistency. And I am going to 100% agree with him on this one. So plants don't like if their environment is constantly changing. I mean, we don't really like it either. It's not a crazy concept. So something to keep in mind, and it's not just inconsistency with watering, which can be a problem for a lot of plants. Some plants are more forgiving than others, but other plants like calathea and ficus and begonia, and a lot of the ones that people really struggle with, the key usually is consistency with their watering as well as their environment. So keeping the temperature consistent, keeping the humidity consistent, the lighting consistent, things like that. So I think the fiddle leaf fig is a really great example of a plant that hates inconsistency, because you can just like move it from one side of the room to the other side of the room and it drops all of its leaves and decides that it hates you. Like, it literally just throws a hissy fit and drops all of its leaves. Like, let me know in the comments below if that has ever happened to you. I had a gorgeous fiddle leaf fig that I was growing for well over a year when I was living at my mom's, and then I moved here, brought it with me, and the thing just one by one, each leaf, until it was just one sad little leaf. I don't know if you guys remember in the Please Don't Die pot. My sad little one leaf fiddle leaf fig eventually dropped its final leaf. No matter how much I tried to give it all the love and all the warmth and all the light and consistent watering, it just did not handle the move well. It did not enjoy that change of environment. Obviously, that is a very dramatic example. Most plants are going to be fine if you move them around, but definitely keep in mind that there's potential that they're not going to love it. So it's something that you have to play around with, I think, too. If you're like a newer plant parent, I know for sure, I'm even still learning with like some of my Hoyas and my philodendrons, like which ones love the bright light, which ones want to be more shaded, things along those lines. So if I have a Hoya that's getting sun stressed and I like it, then we're going to leave it in the bright light. But if it's getting sun stressed in a not so cute way, then we're probably going to move it to a different spot, right? So definitely agree with the inconsistency thing, but also most of your plants are going to be fine. Like, realistically, if I take that pothos from like over there and put it over here, which I literally just did with a few plants right here, they're going to be fine. Unless it's a fiddle leaf fig. It's probably going to hate you. The other thing to keep in mind with this as well is that when a plant is shipped to you, it's in a box for a couple of days. So when you get it home, and even when you bring a plant home from a nursery, you're taking it into a new environment. So the only time I would say like don't move your plant around too much is if it's a newer plant to your environment. So definitely just get it acclimated to your home, your humidity, your temperatures, things along those lines before you start putting it in a whole bunch of different places. So it's usually a good idea to just like obviously isolate your plant and then find a spot and keep it there for a little while and just kind of leave it alone. Just don't touch it. Water it. Check on it. Make sure it's okay. Just don't touch it, you know? Number 2 is up-potting your pot into a bigger pot. So, like too big of a pot, I should say. So going up a pot size when you don't need to. There's like a myth apparently that if you pot your plant into something bigger that it's gonna grow faster. And I mean, us seasoned plant parents know that that's not a thing, but I do think it's important to say because it wasn't something that I ever learned or ever was aware of. Like for me, it was always like you only go up like an inch or two in pot size. Like there's like rules for that. And to like check the root ball and like see if it even needs to be repotted. A lot of people like to use the word root bound. If your plant is root bound, girl, you definitely need to up pot it. But if it's just filled up nicely with roots, some plants like that and they don't necessarily need to be up potted. It's kind of something that you just have to learn over time to tell when your plant is ready for a slightly larger pot, and definitely be careful and mindful of the size that you go to. I mean, you guys have watched me, if you've been here, you've watched me repot how many plants? If you've been here for all the years that I've been on YouTube, I've been doing this since 2019, like the end of 2019. But if you've been here, we've repotted a lot of plants together. And you know that I'm very like conscious and mindful of the size container that I'm using based on the roots of the plant. So you want them to be cozy in there, but you don't want them to be stuffed in there. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So don't go putting your plant with a tiny little root ball into a big pot thinking that like you're going to skip ahead. And that your plant is going to grow faster, or that you're not going to have to repot it for a long time, because they just don't like it. They struggle. They like to really fill up their container with roots. I don't know. They feel more secure. I have no idea. I don't understand why, but for some reason, like people like to say Hoyas like to be root bound. You guys know, if you know me, that I don't like saying that. I don't like the word. I think it's misleading. Root bound means that you have more root than soil, and that is not a good thing. No plant likes that, no plant wants that, and no plant is going to thrive on that. It's actually eventually going to start dropping leaves if you leave it like that for too long. Even Hoya, they just like to be cozy. That's what I say. They like to feel like they're being hugged or like swaddled, you know? Anyway, that's number 2. The bigger the pot doesn't mean that your plant is going to grow faster. It's actually probably the opposite. You're going to stunt the growth on it because it's going to start focusing all of its energy on filling that pot up with roots. Okay, so number 3 on the list is definitely one that I agree with, and I think a lot of you will agree with as well, and that is like the concept of putting stones in the bottom of your pots that don't have drainage. As a way of like, I don't know, creating some sort of drainage. Like, I don't actually understand the logic. All I know is that my mom has been doing it my whole life. And I don't know. I mean, she has plants that are doing fine, but it's not going to kill your plant by any means. But all you're really doing is creating a small reservoir of water if you have pebbles at the bottom. And roots, in case you didn't notice, they grow towards where the water is. So it's actually just going to cause your roots to grow down into the bottom of the pot. And there's no soil down there. So there's no nutrients. And that's not really, like, you're just growing water roots then at that point. So it's not necessarily bad for the plant. It's not necessarily going to kill your plant. But the whole concept is just wrong. that like it's going to provide some sort of drainage, or that you're like protecting the roots in some way, because you're not. Because another thing that people do too is they'll take a pot out of its like cover pot and look at the nursery container, and there'll be roots all coming out the bottom, and they're like, look, it's so nicely rooted, it's ready to be up potted, the roots are coming out of the pot. And then you take it out of the pot and there's hardly any roots in the pot. They're all coming out the bottom because they're going towards the water that is often left sitting once it drains in the bottom of the catch pot. Does that make sense? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? So here's my catch pot. It has no drainage, so therefore I have a nursery container. So a lot of the time what you'll see happen is the roots coming out of the bottom of the holes in the nursery container, because what happens is we water the plant, water sits in the bottom here, the plant sits in the water, the roots go where the water is. Plus this pot is pretty cute, right? So hoya hoya. Okay, so number 4 I thought was interesting because he said not to like touch your plants. And you guys know that I'm a leaf petter, but he was speaking more specifically about succulents, especially Echeveria and some other varieties, I think, as well, that have like that powdery stuff on it. I forget what it's called, but I always refer to it kind of like as the plant's sunscreen. It kind of helps protect it from the super bright light, because succulents grow like in the desert and stuff like that, where it's usually quite bright and quite hot. So, and dry. That's why they hold on to moisture in their leaves. So that is definitely true for plants like that. You want to try and not touch them because you get fingerprints actually like on them. And I have heard that you shouldn't touch your foliage plants because you're clogging up the pores with your oils and whatever. And I want to touch them, you guys. So my plants aren't like out here dying because I'm touching them. And I'm also not just like sitting there petting plants all day. But like if I want to touch the plant, I'm not going to be like, oh no, can't touch the leaf, it's going to die. Like, no, I'm going to touch it if I want to touch it. So I think it's true for sure for succulents, but for your houseplants, like, don't be one of those people who's like, don't touch your plant. Why do you have to touch all the... People said that to me before in plant shopping videos. They're like, why do you have to touch every plant? And I'm like, I like to touch the leaves, okay? Plus, if I'm talking about my Scindapsus exotica, how weird would it be if I didn't touch it? There's cat hair on it. It's got... I don't know. I don't care. Touch your plants all you want. They're your plants. You do you, boo. Which brings us nicely into number 5, which is not dusting and cleaning your leaves, because they cannot actually photosynthesize properly if they have tons of dust covering them. It just kind of blocks the process from happening. It would be like you trying to go outside and get some sun, but like covering yourself in a bunch of dirt. That's a really bad example, but like that's the best thing I could think of. Like you're not gonna get a lot of sun, so you know, there's that. So pests like to hide in there too. It makes it just easier for them to make a cozy little home if you've got like really dusty, dirty leaves. I'm so bad at this, but when I water my plants, I try to like bring them to the sink or throw them in the shower every once in a while and rinse them off, get a little microfiber cloth, even make like gloves that you could wear. Spray it with whatever kind of like insecticidal soap you normally use. You can literally just use water, does not matter. I tend to use just like water and 70% alcohol diluted in water. Doesn't need to be complicated. Just wipe. And also sometimes I'm just like, good enough, right? Okay, so number 6 and the last one on the list is one that I have talked about before and one that I do agree with, and that is misting your plants is not good for your plants. So it's super unnecessary. It's not gonna up the humidity. You're just inviting problems. What was I saying? Sorry, my cat was making noise and distracting me. Yeah, you're not doing anything good for your plants. You're just inviting problems into your life, potential fungal problems, bacterial issues, like especially if you don't have good airflow. So, you know, I don't recommend it. The only time I recommend misting your plants is if you have a leaf that's unfurling and you just want to give it a little extra moisture. You can even just wet a rag and like kind of wrap around the leaf if it's having a hard time unfurling. So I am not a huge advocate for misting your plants. I'm not trying to sit here and shame you if that's something you enjoy doing. Just be mindful of the potential risks and just ask yourself why. Like, why am I misting my plant? Like, do you think that it is actually helping with the humidity? Because it's not. You need a humidifier. There's really no way around that. So, I don't know. That's just my opinion. Obviously, let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about these 6 things. Do you agree? Do you disagree? For the most part, I'd say I agree for sure. Maybe just, you know, touch your plants if you want to. It's fine. Some of them are velvety too and like fuzzy. Like, you can't not touch them, right? So that is it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments below if you like this style of video where I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm not necessarily reacting to it, but commenting on what other people are saying on the internet about plants. So if you enjoyed it, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything from me. There is a join button down there if you want to be part of the official plant fam. Get yourself some perky perks. If not, there is a super thanks button if you want to super thanks me. Everything is appreciated. I literally cannot do this without you guys. And I love you. And I hope I see you in the next one. Bye.